Welcome to the Brad Davidson Show with his partner in crime, me, Raquel. And as you can see, Brad is not physically in the studio, so I'm in the big boy chair today, which I kind of dig.
It.
Yep. And I'm doing my best Brad Davidson impression. So I'm like, okay, black hat. I need a black shirt. I had to borrow it from Quinn because I don't have any small logoed black t-shirts. So here we go. I don't know if I'm supposed to pull it up a little bit, to show the guns. But anyway, so this is
show off that farmer's stand.
Yes, that's right. So episode 34, you're in Lost Wages, watching your daughter play, having a ball.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Long days.
Yeah. I remember them actually. It was a lot of fun.
So, yeah, they're doing pretty good. I think they're 5-2 right now.
Okay.
They kind of lost the heartbreaker. They shouldn't have lost the last game. They just lost.
Yeah.
They did.
Okay. Yeah, totally.
It happens.
Yeah.
One more day.
Yes. So what's up with you?
Nothing. I wanted to chat about rest and recovery today on the podcast.
Fantastic.
Such a vital area of importance that just so much misunderstanding around, or lack of evidence around, or misbelief around, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's the most important factor.
Right.
So,
and you've seen it in all your people, how important it is, how crucial it is.
Yeah, and I think the biggest misnomer, or the missing factor, is the stress of life.
Right.
And people don't bring that into play.
No.
Right? They disregard that.
Yeah.
A lot of people think, I exercise to alleviate stress. Which, there are ways to use it for that. But
yes.
You have to look at this world of exercise around total physiological stress load on a day-to-day basis. And that's just misunderstood.
Right.
So I see it raise a lot of havoc in people's lives. I watch it with clients. They'll be making really good progress, and then something will happen in their life. Stress will blow up through the roof, and they'll start responding really poorly to everything.
Yeah.
Body fat will start going up, muscle mass will start dropping, strength will start dropping. It's the most vital thing we look at when we're training athletes. Because with an athlete, it's really obvious that they're not recovering well if they're too stressed out. They're going backwards, not forwards, and that's never what you want.
No.
But when it comes to body composition, we don't correlate a lot of the stress factors into this realm. And we don't correlate how important rest and recovery is into this realm. So many people think it's just go as hard as you freaking can all the time.
Right.
And I see it devastate people. Well, and we worked on a lot of that with you.
Oh, so true.
Right?
So true. I'm a whip. I'm still a work in progress in that department. There's a lot that I kind of struggle with, even in my own day-to-day scheduling, and how much is too much. And I'm really taking a look right now about my own schedule and thinking about scaling back a little bit, just because teaching in the heat is a lot. It's very taxing. And even though I'm not doing the whole class and I'm just doing a bit of it, it's still draining. And I leave there just wiped. So
it's tough. I just came off of a run with, I call it feast or famine in the world of training clients.
Yes.
You're either in a feast or you're in a famine. I just came off a long run of being in a feast.
Mm-hmm.
And how I responded with it, I just cut way back on my training.
Yeah.
Instead of training 4 days a week, I was training maybe twice a week in regards to hard. And then I started working in a lot more cardio-based, like recoveries type of work.
Which I witnessed the other day.
Yeah. Slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Away on that assault bike.
Yeah. Do you feel like that helped you? Though, sorry, I cut you off. Do you feel like that helped you get through that time?
Yeah, 100% it does. Yeah. My weight didn't change. My body comp didn't change much, which is weird, right? You think I cut my volume of training back so much. You think I would see a very negative response.
Sure.
And I didn't. I didn't make a lot of progress during the period of time.
It's okay.
But I didn't fall backwards. Like I said, my body fat didn't elevate. My weight didn't change. I kind of was able to maintain through that realm of, we're talking, I was training anywhere from 11 to 14 clients a day. Oh my gosh. Pretty much 5 days a week.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So but I know enough now, being in the industry long enough to know there's feast and famine. I'm on vacation right now. When I come back from vacation, I'm rolling into it. All my clients happen to be on vacation when I come back. So probably 3/4 of my schedule is going to be gone for the rest of July when I get back. So, and what I'll do is I will start increasing my training in that realm. So again, using overall physical stress load as a predictor of how much I should be or shouldn't be training, to me, it's really important. And we talk, and there's a lot of hype around the Aura Ring, the Whoop band.
Yes.
I use something called Morpheus by Joel Jameson.
Is that a band that you wear?
It's a heart rate strap.
Okay.
So I wake up in the morning, I put the chest strap on, and I take a reading first thing in the morning if I get out of bed to give me the same things that the Aura Ring, the Whoop band gives you, which is that your HRV, your readiness score, you know, how well you're handling stress, how much stress you can handle on a given day. Why I personally like the Morpheus so much, there's a lot of talk around VO2 max and how important that is. What I like about the Morpheus band is it gives you your levels of cardio training, showing you what kind of benefits you're going to have from those levels. I mean, by heart rate ranges.
Nice.
So, for example, he breaks it down like blue, green, red. Blue is like low level cardiovascular conditioning. So for me, it's anything under 148 beats per minute. I'm in the blue zone.
Okay.
148 to like 168. I think I'm in the green zone. I think above 160, I'm in the red zone. And then it tells me on a weekly basis, like how much time I should be in each one of those windows to improve my VO2 max, to improve my cardiovascular conditioning, and also to increase my HRV. That's one of the reasons I really like this tool. So I think Jay and I are even debating, talking about bringing it into the weight room protocol.
Oh yeah, fantastic idea.
Because and I'm actually in the middle of a kind of an 8-week program to increase the VO2 max to see how well it works. Because we know the top two predictors of longevity are VO2 max and muscle mass. So like we're real big on the muscle mass factor. So now we want to incorporate adding in for our members. Okay, here is how you train and condition to also improve the VO2 max to give you that overall resiliency in life. You know, those two big hot words right now is like VO2 max and muscle mass. Well, it's really hard. It's really hard to strategically increase both of those, to improve both of those. Yeah. So that's kind of why we're playing with Morpheus, because it's easy to understand. Okay, just stay in the blue zone this long, stay in the green zone this long, get in the red zone this. And what's funny is when you look at the breakdown of it, everyone thinks I got to go really hard all the time. Right. And I'll tell you right now, in my safe zones, where like HIIT training will get you into that green zone and that red zone. I'm allowed 8 to 14 minutes a week in the green zone and 1 to 4 minutes a week in the red zone. Wow. Crazy. Yeah. So think about that. That's, and I got a pretty good, my HRV is decent. It's 70. It's decent. Okay. It's not great. It's decent. But if I can only handle those kind of volumes and that high level of intensity, it goes to show you how misunderstood the industry is around about how much they're pushing people to train hard. Yes.
Will you give a user-friendly explanation for what VO2 max is?
Oh gosh.
Just because people might be going, oh okay, yeah.
I'm going to Google it right now.
Okay. Do it.
Because I don't know how to give it. I don't know how to give it
user-friendly. Yeah.
So here's what it says. VO2 max is the maximum rate of oxygen consumption attainable during physical exertion.
Okay.
It's derived from the abbreviations V for volume and O2 for oxygen, and max for maximum and usually normalized per kilogram of body mass.
So needless to say, we want a good one.
Yeah. So it's the maximum amount of oxygen that an individual can utilize during intense or maximal exercise.
Okay.
So, and I've had my VO2 max tested before. You can actually go to, I did mine at, oh my gosh, this place over by the airport in Orange County. Anyways, so a good VO2 max for a man between ages 30 and 39 is 41 to 44.9. A good VO2 max for a woman, that same age range, is 31.5 to 35.6. And it's the use of strategic cardiovascular training is how you improve that. The other way you can do it is you can go, that's a miserable way to do it. The only way to test it is it's super miserable. Okay. So like I went and had like the mask put on.
Oh geez, yeah. I've seen that being done. Right.
Yeah. I got to the end of it when they cut me off. I couldn't get the mask off fast enough. I thought I was gonna vomit.
Oh no.
Like I did it once. I don't know if I'll ever do it again.
Yeah.
But it's not. Another thing you do is like you can go like 12 minutes on a track and run as hard as you can for 12 minutes.
Oh man.
And you can look up the calculation online. You run as hard as you can for 12 minutes. and then take like your average heart rate realm or something like that.
Oh, boy.
There's a tool you can use online. If you look it up, it's miserable to test.
That doesn't sound like fun. I don't think I'll be incorporating that. I think I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. I got mine originally tested. I know where I was at,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm strategically just kind of working to improve it all the time, which I think we should be doing. But yeah, it takes strategy because with cardiovascular conditioning, you can't just go hard all the time.
Sure.
So if you look at my average, so my blue zone wants me training 90 to 150 minutes a week in my blue zone.
Okay.
So it's like we need a large amount of low level cardiovascular training.
Mm-hmm. That's why you like walking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It builds that aerobic base,
mm-hmm.
which is so dramatically important.
Right. Why do you think we are so, we as people, humans in this industry, in this field, so attached to the high intensity? Do you think it's a little bit of look at me, look what I can do?
I think it is. Yeah, there's a lot of you look at the popular things out there. It's extreme things.
Yes.
I think we like the extremes. Mm-hmm. I survived this.
Right. You're right. Here's my T-shirt to prove it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like you saw me pedaling on the. You saw me going about -5 miles an hour on the salt
did.
bike.
I think weren't you going backwards?
I might have been. That was like the level I had to be at to keep my heart rate where I was supposed to keep it at that day.
Yeah.
It was super boring, but it's very effective.
Yeah.
This style of training also helps bring your resting heart rate down, which is really important as well. But there's no I sure as hell didn't look cool doing it. There was no look how badass I am.
And you didn't have a tripod set up.
Yeah, nobody wants to watch someone pedal backwards on an assault bike.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's the thing is everyone, which I get. I think periodically challenging ourselves is really good for us.
Sure.
We live in a world of extreme comfort, so I think periodically, aggressively challenging ourselves to what we're made of is really good for us. Periodically,
yes,
but not 5 days a week or 6 days a week, 7 days out of the year, or 52 weeks out of the year, whatever. It's too much.
Right.
It's too much. My professional athletes, I always say this. General population people think they need to train more than professional athletes.
Right.
They don't grasp it. These men and women, I'm working with them, they're in the off season, and the volume of work they're doing is dramatically less than the volume of work my other clients are trying to get in, that are stressed out of their minds, working all day, family. These men and women are in the off season. They have no stress. They make great money. They usually have someone cooking their foods for them.
Yeah.
Literally, the whole world is around recovery, and people want to do more volume of work than they do. I'm like, why? These men and women get incredible results training dramatically less. Why would you want to be in the gym more, pushing more, getting less of a result? I do not understand that part of it.
Yeah. Well, you'll appreciate this. Quinn and I trained with Jay in your absence today, and we got home, and she was getting ready to change and jump in the shower, and she said, "Mom, I think I might have actually gotten leaner in these last 3 weeks." And I started laughing. You always say that it's when you finally let the body rest and recover that you get the results.
100%.
Yeah. So instead of being afraid.
For those of you who don't know, Quinn broke her finger one of the last days of school. And so it's kind of forced
playing volleyball.
Doing so much.
Right.
Yeah. So we were training 3 times a week. She was, doing a lot of low level stuff. And I told her, I think this is gonna be a really good thing for you because most of my professional athletes, when they come out of season, they'll take about a month off and do nothing. They'll just rest. They'll get therapy work. They'll go on vacation, and they'll take a break.
Do they have a hard time doing that, or no?
No, because they're so beat up and tired by the end of the season.
They're ready. They're ready.
So forward to it.
Okay.
And I always want them chomping at the bit to get back into the gym.
Yes.
I don't want it. You got to fight and prevent burnout.
Yes.
That's the thing I worry about with young kids this day and age is they're being pushed to play year-round sports, multiple sports year-round constantly, and it's just it's not going to end well. It's too much. They're not going to be able to handle it with the amount of pressure with school. And all of a sudden, a lot of kids are a lot of our little football players are playing football and baseball during football season.
Yeah.
It's oh my gosh, it's this whole push around volume and doing more and outworking everyone else. It's gotten to a point where those people that hear it that don't really need it are abusing it because they think it's for them. It's really meant for the lazy people not wanting to do anything.
Right. Yeah.
So I say this a lot. This one hit me in the numbers when my buddy Ryan Dombach told to me. He's like, he had a coach tell him, if you hear me telling you that you're not doing enough, you need to do more, I'm not talking to you.
Yeah.
There are those types of us that we think we always need to do more. We got to be more. We got to put in more work. We got to grind harder than everyone else. And
you're right.
That's not who it's for.
You're right.
Yeah.
No, and she's fortunately got cleared by the doctor and has been playing a bit more. But to that point of your athletes, you want them chomping at the bit to come back. I mean, I think that was her. She said, I'm going to take some time off. And then the broken finger forced her to take some time off. And then it's like, well, wait a minute. I want that time off to be the time off I want it to be, not the time off that I'm told I have to. So it's definitely a thing. But it was, I knew you'd get a kick out of the fact that she was kind of like, oh, and she hasn't, one arm is not considerably bigger from only working on the one side. Right? So she's good. But, I really am fascinated about how much we as a society, let's just say, push back against rest. We always have an answer for why we don't need to do that much. Or, oh, you're taking a second class, you're doing 2 classes in a row. Well, blah, blah, blah. There's always an answer why. Or, oh, well, I didn't do this or this, so I can do this. And and I have been there. I'm not saying that I haven't been. You know how much I've been there. Yeah. And I'm grateful to kind of be through the other side. However, it's still a struggle. It is still a struggle. Oh, I would say I'm at about the 75% mark of completely grasping it, where I get, okay, I'm good. I'm good with less. I'm good with less. I'm not beating myself up. I used to freaking travel. Well, of course, this was when I was married to my first husband, which, we don't even want to talk about that. But I used to travel with my own freaking scale. I could weigh myself every day because you never know what the scale that they have is going to say. So how freaking nutty is that? That's some effed up stuff right there that I felt like I needed to pack a scale.
But it's not our fault. The industry has really done a number on us.
Yes, I agree.
It gets us to focus on the wrong things. Mm-hmm. It's an industry. It's a for-profit industry.
Yes, of course.
So they're getting us to focus on things that they're easy to manipulate and change. Weight is easy to manipulate and change. Mm-hmm. I just prepped a young lady for Miss California, Miss New Mexico competitions, and she's a professional track athlete. And 6 weeks prior to the start of Miss California, she ran her last track meet. She was 137. Mm-hmm. 6 weeks later for Miss California, Miss New Mexico, I had it at 124.
Wow.
Scale is super easy to manipulate.
Sure.
But she is not 124 today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
She looks absolutely great, by the way.
Yeah. And I was super bummed about this. This poor girl lost because they told her she wasn't lean enough. And I wish we could put the pictures
up right now.
Yeah, because I asked her, I'm like, wait a minute, you weren't lean enough or you weren't skinny enough? And she goes, I don't know. They told me I wasn't lean enough. I said, hey, look at the woman who won and compare her to how you look.
Sure.
My girl was much leaner. This girl was just stick and bones that won. Yeah. I'm like, you just weren't skinny enough. Mm-hmm. It was heartbreaking because she's a professional athlete. She looks great. She had a little too much muscle mass on her because she's an athlete. Yeah. The girl that won it looked like she starves herself and walks on the treadmill all day.
Sure.
But to tell my girl, like, oh, you're not lean enough, what a messed up thing to tell that girl in the head. And she's thinking she's fat. I showed you the picture of her. She has abs, everything.
No, she looks great.
Like, she looks incredible.
Yeah.
But there's a thing where, like, we're mixing things up. Like, she's being told she's not lean enough, but in reality, she just wasn't skinny enough
for that thing.
Those are two very different things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And either we'd have to ruin her professional track and field career to make her that skinny. Like, you can't do what she does and get that skinny. No. It's counterproductive. Mm-hmm. She's a power athlete. She's a heptathlete. Like, she has to do a bunch of different things. It's just throw a shot put. She can't be a stick and bones and throw a shot put.
A waif, no. Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah, she'd fall over holding it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the industry has really done a number on us by telling us things like, oh, weight matters, the scale's super important,
so much.
Effort matters, because most of the time, like, the only way a gym is going to make money is if you're coming in to pay them to do a class.
Right.
They're not getting paid for rest days.
That's right. And we've seen some places
So-
that have attempted that, actually.
Yeah.
Have attempted to have the model of the rest, and it's still, it might work for a moment, but ultimately you're absolutely right. They're making the money with people through the door and, the visits.
Yeah. Same thing as a trainer. Like I don't make money telling people to take a rest day.
Yeah.
But what I have learned, and you've experienced this, I will never charge you if you text me and you're like, I am smoked, I'm exhausted, my HRV is bad. I'm like, stay away.
Yeah.
Because I've learned it's all about long-term progression. I want to do what's going to get the result for the client versus just make the money on that specific day. So I think it's a good model for coaches to have that mindset of nothing good's going to happen by you coming in the gym today. Get out of here. And I want to show. I learned this the hard way. I'm not just like making this up. I was 33. I was on the U.S. bobsled team, and I was competing against guys, 10 years younger than me. And my mindset back then was, I'm going to outwork them. I'm going to out-discipline them. So I was training twice a day, 6 days a week. I was eating perfect, avoiding carbs. I was following the paleo diet back then. I mean, I put on like 50 pounds of muscle over 10 months. I turned myself on the outside. I looked like a super freak. I remember I was getting a spray tan because my farmer's tan is always kind of there. It was for a photo shoot. And the girl's like, oh my God, you look like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Like, that's how my body looks on the outside. And so, I mean, I'm 180 right now. I was 210 back then. That's how big I had gotten.
Yeah.
And what had happened, I had my little girl and I took one more run in a bobsled. And I'm like, oh my God, I realized as I'm cruising down the ice at 100 miles an hour thinking, oh my God, people died doing this. Why am I doing this? I panicked. I jumped out, pulled the plug, never got back in. But I remember thinking like, hey, what a great dad I am. No dad bod here. I'm super fit. I've taken great care of myself. But within 2 weeks of retiring, my whole metabolism crashed. I completely fell apart. And I went to the doctor and all of a sudden I'm a type 2 diabetic, extreme hypothyroidism, and I'm in andropause like I'm 90 years old. And the doctor's like, what the hell have you done to yourself? Yeah. That's where training obsessively and abusing stress leads. Right. It's really not fun when you get there. Like I'm more worried about that because I was able to fight through it and look great until the day everything collapsed. Sure. It took me 6 years to recover from that. That's the thing I'm trying to prevent people from hitting. Yeah. As you push hard enough, long enough, eventually your metabolism can't keep up with it. It is going to crash. And I still am suffering from things at 48, gosh, almost 49 now that I did when I was 33. Like I did so much damage back then that I'm paying the price for the rest of my life. And I'm trying to help prevent people from getting to that point. Yeah. So that's why I don't buy into train more, do more, train harder, don't be a pansy, get after it, do these extreme things. Do them every once in a while. But in between those periods of testing yourself, be methodical. Yes. No one can train hard every single day. Right. And the really great strength coaches, they build moderation. They build hard days, moderate days, easy recovery days. They build it into the protocol when they're coaching people. You have to do it. That makes sense. It makes so much sense. It really does. That's why I'm so passionate about it because it almost ruined my life. Yeah. I mean, it put me through a lot of bad years physically. That's why I'm such a big fan of eating carbohydrates because I became a diabetic by avoiding carbohydrates and stressing the hell out of my body. Dr. J. Tito, taught me that. I even had a conversation with Rob Wolf, who wrote the paleo diet about it. He's like, oh yeah, I didn't write the paleo diet for people like you, but it's like, well, it's all the CrossFitter. Like, it's all the extreme people that picked it up. He's like, it's a great conversation. Like, wow, I learned that the hard way. So that's why I'm so hell-bent on pushing rest and recovery and stress resiliency. And to validate my book that I wrote, the Stark Naked 21-Day Metabolic Reset, it works so well because it pulls people out of that high-stress cycle and allows the body an off-season of just 21 days focused on rest and recovery. Right. It is literally the same methodology what a professional athlete I have do for general pop people that don't think they need an off-season. And it's really powerful. And I wrote that thing in 2016 and it's still kicking ass. People are still doing great with it. Yeah. Still getting incredible. We just had one of the ladies from the weight room and the 21 days lost 6 pounds, 2.5 inches off her waist, 2 inches off her hips, and an inch off each thigh. That's great. Completely backing off, just focusing on the recovery aspect. So guess who's a believer now, right? Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It just consistently works.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that most people are afraid
Yes.
to take the time off.
Sure. Because we feel like, oh my gosh, we're gonna lose everything that we've gained. We're gonna get fat. We're gonna all the things. And here's a great example. This morning I taught class. Yesterday, as we all know, was a holiday, and it was a full class on my schedule with a wait list, and lo and behold, I end up with a couple open spaces. Of course, not surprisingly, but some of those people usually this class. So heated class, strength class, little yoga, little weight stuff. It's hard. It's hot, 95 degrees. We're bouncing around. And people were not woohooing and having as much fun as normal. And I kept thinking, how many of you all are hung? It's, and I don't mean downstairs. I mean hungover. I'm kind of looking around, just thinking, all right, we're just kind of getting through. So one of the participants, he comes all the time, says at the end of class when we finish, he says, wow, you went easy on us today. And I said, well, I read the room and you guys were kind of dying. And so, I mean, you can't have, and this is a good example too, a freaking crazy 4th of July. You got the beer bong going and keg stands or whatever, eating all the things, the hot dogs and the Doritos, whatever, and then expect to perform really well the next day, not even 12 hours later. Right. So it's
too much stress on the body.
Right. And they, several of those people probably should have tapped out and just not come.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
After I started really learning about all this stuff, I remember the busiest days when I used to work at a sports club Irvine. I used to work there too.
I didn't work there. I worked there when they were Equinox. I was a member when they were when I was married to my crazy ex-husband. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember seeing you there back in the day. I never met you, but I remember seeing you.
Yes.
The busiest day was always Saturday morning, like between 10 and 12. Sure. Everyone was there sweating it out.
Of course.
Thinking that was a good thing. Now it is so devastating on the metabolism to show up in a state where you're just depleted and you're going to stress your body out more in that state. It's like a recipe for disaster.
Right. Well, one of the spin studios I used to work at, their motto was detox to retox.
Oh, God.
And even then I would think, wow, okay. We're going to get this out of our system and go right back at it. And I mean, I guess that's what a lot of people do and how a lot of people survive. And again, you've talked about people wanting to do those numbing things to quiet the voices in their head and chill out. And that's just a vicious circle or cycle, right? Yeah. So really having the rest and recovery is so crucial. Really, really having
100%.
It. Yeah.
It's the biggest game changer of everything that we could do, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And it's just the one thing that we're so far behind in. There's more and more information coming out, right?
Yes.
The cold plunges, the what are those boot things? The Normatec boots.
Yeah, sure. Compression boots.
Yeah. Like that stuff's coming out more and more. It's still not being talked a lot about being used for recovery. A lot of it's being used for enhancing results, like cold plunging to wake the brain up.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite things to do it started a cool thing with my kids. Sundays is like our rest and recovery. I want to teach them young.
Good for you.
Like you got to have a day. So like one of my favorite things to do is go out to Merida Hot Springs and just do the hot cold contrast. Sit in the warm geothermal waters for 5 or 10 minutes, get in the cold plunge for 1 to 3 minutes, and do that periodically. And just have a day where it's just you're doing things focused on rest and recovery. So they learn very young as athletes. Okay, this is part of it. So I'm hoping for the rest of their lives they'll grow up with this mentality of, okay, right now it's Sundays is our rest and recovery day. And I'm hoping they'd adopt that and continue on with that as they grow older, because it was the thing that was missing when I grew up. When I grew up, it was you got to outwork your competition. I remember I took this advice to heart. the day you're tired, the day you don't feel like doing anything, the day your body's just beat up and it takes everything out of you to get out of bed, that's the day you go to the gym and train twice as hard.
Right.
Because that's the day your competition will go back to bed and you'll get an edge.
Exactly.
I didn't get an edge. I just got devastatingly destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want a different message to my children of like, no, that's not how you are as a high performing person.
Good for you.
That day is you go back to bed. That day you go focus on recovery scenarios. That's your body telling you it can't take the stress of whatever you're applying to it. It needs some aid to catch back up.
Right.
It's a valuable tool.
Yeah.
And I wish I have certain clients I will prescribe, I call them ER recovery days.
ER.
Where they ER recovery days. It's like, you're not allowed to do any work. You're not allowed to do any responsibility. Like there's no doing laundry. There's nothing.
Oh, wow.
It's a whole day just focused on you. You rest, you hydrate well, you eat well, you take naps, you do therapy, different type, whatever kind of therapy you like to do, whether it's hot, cold plunging, whether it's a massage.
I love that.
It's like ER recovery days. And there's just certain people I'm like, okay,
today, this
is what's going to happen. What day of the week is it happening? Because you're doing it. Like you are smoked. And the only way I can get them to recharge and regroup is to do something like that. I think it's really valuable.
Do they do it?
Yeah, typically.
Okay. That's great.
You know who's really good about recovery? Here's another interesting factor. The athletes that tend to have the longest careers as professionals tend to spend the most money on recovery work. I know athletes that spend $250,000 a year on recovery methodology work to keep their bodies in a good state. And these are like some of these athletes are very big names that lasted a long time and had very long careers. They put a lot of emphasis around this recovery aspect.
Because they've lived it.
I mean, you imagine spending, they know, like they have to have it to maintain a peak state of performance. And to be lean, to be all those things that people want, you got to be in a peak state of performance. You can't be like super lean, performing at a high level, feeling like shit all the time and being depleted. You have to be in a high state of rest, recovery, replenishment, and a lot of umph left in the tank.
Yeah.
Here's the thing I tell people: if you got to take a pre-workout to train hard, you probably shouldn't be training hard.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of that. I'm one of those types. Like I do pre-workouts, and I get to a point where I become a slave to it.
Yeah.
Caffeine, I become a slave to. Like it just starts to run my life. That's one of the things I'm doing right now. Is I get one cup of coffee in the mornings. Right now when I'm on vacation, because I got to the point I was doing like 600 to 800 milligrams of caffeine a day. I became a slave to that caffeine.
Yeah. Because
I pushed so hard and worked so much, was so tired. Like that's another reason why I wasn't training a lot, because I knew I was a slave to that. And if you're somebody like me, that you're fatigued, you're tired, and you got to pump in a 300 milligram pre-workout of caffeine just to get through the workout, you're doing your body a disservice, not a great justice.
Right.
So watch out for those things. I call them people are slaves to certain things.
Yeah, you're right.
I become a slave to caffeine very quickly, very easily. And unfortunately, being a slave to anything is going to hold back performance, whatever that thing is. It could be caffeine, it could be alcohol, it could be there's a million things it could be.
Sure.
But when you start living your life, I have to have this thing, and it starts to take control, it's real. You're not living a free, high-performing, healthy life when you're a slave to something.
Right. That makes so much sense.
And some people are a slave to high-intense exercise. Like they need that high, that adrenaline rush,
because you've talked about that dopamine hit.
Yeah.
And
100%.
And what that gives you. And I think especially a lot of my friends who, maybe were, recovered addicts are attracted to that. And probably 100%. Because it still gives you that feeling, right?
Yeah. I see. I do. I will not lie. I do see exercise as another addictive mechanism. And it's deemed healthy, but when you're doing it at high levels or high quantities of volume at high intensities, it's not healthy. It's just not deemed negative like drugs or alcohol. Those types of things are.
Right.
But it's just another form. I see that a lot.
Yeah.
I see that a lot. That's why I really try to push those people like working on the rest and recovery, because they're now a slave to the intensity.
But I'm going to say that for certain people, and maybe, that particular type of individual, that's really hard for them to walk away from that, because it just, I think it's really uncomfortable, not just like somebody, as you say, general pop. I don't know. It's probably a lot more difficult.
you're getting a high from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's replaced the highs of other things. You're getting a high from it.
Yeah.
And when you take that away, it's the same. There's withdrawals. There definitely is. It's not super. It's not as easy as just say, okay, don't do that today.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go through a methodology of, okay, well, what are some replacement things we can do that are going to have better benefit?
Sure.
So what I'll typically do is we'll still use exercise, but as we'll do like a very prescribed, like what you saw me doing on the assault bike. That's fine. You can go train today, whatever you choose to do. Your heart rate has to stay in this range. You can't go above or below these numbers.
Yeah.
And it's hard, but it gives them something to focus on. They're working.
Right.
They won't feel the same high as the intensity workout, but they'll come out of it feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
That's another important factor I tell you is that you should come out of your workout feeling better than going into your workout. If you come out of your workout and you're exhausted to the point of you need a nap, and that's happening too often, you're probably pushing too hard. You're probably pushing your body past the demands of what it can handle. So,
well, I'm always surprised with the workouts that you write for me or put together for me. That, for example, today's, I was like, oh, this isn't that big of a deal. I'm doing I'm doing fronts, or back squats, and then I'm doing cyclist squat, and then I'm doing lunges, and then that pendulum squat. Okay, I'm doing that 4 times. All right. And then it doesn't feel, I know that sounds like a lot when I say that, but as I'm doing it's, then I get a minute and a half rest, whatever. Afterwards, my legs were like jello when I'm walking out today. Yeah. I didn't really, and you've said this about where you trained before, someone giving you grief, because I'm not sweating buckets and I'm a sweater, so I'm not sweating buckets in that way, but the effort is still being put forth.
Yeah, so I'm going to share the story. So I was training this guy. He was like early 40s, I think, and he had made really good progress over 6 months. Mm-hmm. We're training at this gym, and this class is going on. This guy comes over and tells my guy, "Hey, man, you need to suck it up. You're not working hard. You're not sweating at all." And this guy's like just dripping with sweat, and he looks horrible. And my guy's like, "Oh my God!" He goes, "I'm just doing what he said to do." I said, "Whoa!" I said, "Here's what my guy looked like 6 months ago." And I showed him a picture. I said, "What did you look like 6 months ago?"
Ooh.
And he's like, and he just walked away. And I looked at my guy and go, "It is not how hard you work.
Yeah.
It is how strategic you are to get a specific result you're looking for."
Right.
I told him it's just like with business.
Work smart.
Business, to be successful at business, is not go work as hard as you freaking can every freaking day. Yeah. You got to work hard, but you got to have a lot of strategy built in to be successful at business. And he was very successful at business. Like, that makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
So with you, we're so focused on enhancing muscle mass. Mm-hmm. Like you're going through. That's the other thing people like. They don't like the rest periods between sets. They think that's bad because they don't because it's not as hard. They're not sweating as much, not going as much. Right. But if we want to strategically, for example, target the legs and train the legs hard and try to get a muscular response from them, you have to break the muscle tissue down. But you have to let recovery happen set to set so you can handle higher loads for more repetition.
Yes.
If you can't handle the higher load to create volume at a higher load, you're not going to get muscular growth. So if you cut your rest periods too short, you can't maintain as much strength. It's going to dip. You're not going to get the right response.
Right.
So the response we're trying to get with you is enhancing muscle mass. We're not trying to use cardiovascular conditioning on you.
Right.
So that's another thing people struggle with. Like, well, I'm not sweating. I'm not breathing hard.
I'm not doing cardio.
Yeah, it's not supposed to.
I'm not doing cardio.
Yeah. Yeah. We're super focused on increasing muscle mass with you.
Yeah. Well, especially since I think about how much more difficult it becomes every year. And I know I'm not imagining that. I think, and this discussion we've had about looking back on old pictures, or we get those wonderful memories that pop up on our iPhones about what and thinking, holy crap, I looked so good and I wasn't even happy with that then. And now I'm in this space of, okay, I'm probably not going to look like that, but I'm going to look the best that I can possibly be and feel, not just look, but because of what I do, there is an element of, you have more status if you look a certain way, sadly. But, I do want to look a certain way. I'm not going to lie about that. And I want to absolutely feel great, but it's so much harder. And I've had a couple of people recently say to me, they're not as old as me, that they're in their 50s, early 50s, say, wow, this is a little different now. This is so, wow, okay. I used to do, I can remember the days of just thinking about, okay, I feel a little fluffy. I'm just going to, not eat for a couple of days, that BS.
Yeah.
And it would work, and now all things have changed, and you cannot apply the old habits to the new situation. That is for sure.
Yeah, 100%. It's aging, right?
Yes.
And it's going to get all of us eventually.
Yes.
And so, like, at your age now, you'll never be able to look like you looked when you were 20. Like,
damn it.
Your whole, I know, and it's just
right.
It's just the reality of it. Everything's different.
Right. Yep.
It's a bummer because, in the past, like the wisdom of the sage used to be such a valuable thing throughout cultures and stuff. And now it's like this, it's like you get tossed aside at a certain point. We're like the forgotten ones. It's weird.
I know.
But I mean, I still feel like we have good knowledge and
I agree.
Understanding and a lot of value.
Yeah.
So
we'll
just keep fighting it, keep doing our best
Let's do
as
it.
good as we can, and
do
pass on the info.
Yep. Love
Sweet.
it. Well, this was fun. I love the big boy chair.
Yeah, they look good in it.
You promised your little man what? What are you guys doing?
We're gonna go jump in the pool.
Nice.
Play a little bit.
Nice.
So,
excellent. We'll enjoy that.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
We will.
Yeah. And I guess we'll do this again next week. Same way, huh?
Yeah. I'll be in Oregon next week.
Yeah.
So we'll do the same thing next week.
Awesome. All right, Brad. Thank you so much. Enjoy your time.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.